All right, so hopefully you guys have looked a little bit at the Arduino kit. Um, some of them kind of came apart. They're just two little screws. You don't have to do it in a specific way that attaches your breadboard. So the breadboard is the Arduino. It's kind of an open source hardware version, so that if you look out there, there are hundreds of different versions of Arduino. The main one's called the Arduino Uno, which I have a number of. But the breadboard is put together by an education electronics company called SparkFun, which is who we're using this through. This little square is the brain of the whole system. It's the processor. It has all the inputs and outputs when you program it. Here is your USB extension. You have a different power extension. We don't have a separate one, but the USB powers it. We have all of the digital inputs and outputs and the analog inputs and the different power systems. You can control those with a number of things. There are also pins where you can connect this board to something else. One of the cool things that's available for Arduinos is you can buy what's called a shield. A shield is something that plugs in directly to this and has some of the functionality built in. So you'll plug in things that just plug into all of these ports and will have built-in circuits on them, or you can build your own. So in the kit we have a few things. We have a bunch of LEDs, resistors. There are two types of resistors. These are called jumper wires. Basically they're just pre-built wires that will plug into the breadboard or here. Your USB, there's a smaller end that will plug into the breadboard itself, and then the other end which you plug into your computer so they can talk. And in this goodie bag, there's a lot of different sensors and resistors and things like that. There are a few more complicated components that instead of just trying to explain, we'll get to later. This breadboard, you can remove the backing and stick it down so that we have just a nice isolated area to do as much of the work as possible. You should have one of these guides. Nice thing is it goes through all of this stuff, so you should be able to find pretty much all of it. Then the other thing that you should be able to get to, let me bring this up. So the link I have for the experiment guide, I would use this one because it matches our hardware exactly. You might not find everything there, but there are all the different experiments. These are always a starting point. You don't have to finish there. But if you go, each thing has just an explanation. It goes through everything on there. It gives you all those links. So if you look at the experiment 1, it goes through and kind of shows what you'll need. We have all this stuff here. So an LED, you can learn about LEDs. We can have our resistors. It kind of shows you how to connect it, like which piece connects to where. So we have the ground, and then we have our port 13. Port 13 is just something where we can set the voltage on it, so that'll allow us to turn on and off the LED. And you go to each of those. It kind of gives you some options. Here is the code. As you're doing each of those pieces, kind of going through there. There's a lot of comments that you can read, so anything that starts with the double forward slashes is a comment that's just telling you what's going on. We'll talk a little bit about the structure of the programs later, but basically loop is just the thing that's going to happen. So void means it just does something, it doesn't return any information. And it digital writes, that basically means it assigns a value of high to port 13, waits 1,000 milliseconds, which is 1 second, then it sets it to low, then waits a second, and then it loops that. So looping that, it's going to go between low and high and low and high, so it would be blinking it on and off as long as it was going through there. So you just have to make sure as it's going you can do that. So then you can kind of mess around, change it, see if you can add more, do things like that. They have a lot of different basic setups that I would really highly recommend that you kind of work your way through. the software, if you go to the software page, there's a web editor where you can do things, or you can download the program. That's what I did. Let me open up the software here so you can see. It's going to open in the wrong monitor, so I'll have to drag it over. But I haven't messed with it yet, but I'm probably going to go through and build each of these circuits just to make sure that it all works. So it programs in Java, but it sets up here so you can make sure you're connected. You have all the different options along there, so you should be able to follow the instructions along. But if you get stuck, feel free to come into office hours and ask for help. But other than that, good luck with your build and have some fun.